Good morning, Vyapaar Jagat. And first of all, thank you so much for keep watching the sessions that we are having during these 3 days Vyapaar Jagat growth talk show. And during these 3 days, we are learning lot many things. एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जो होता है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में एक सबसे बड़ा एक क्या बोलते हैं अपने उसको, एक स्किल जो होती है एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की, एंड दैट इज़ द स्किल वेर इन यू कैन लर्न फ्रॉम अदर्स एक्सपीरियंस, जहाँ पे हम मोस्टली द स्टार्टअप और द एंटरप्रेन्योर्स व्हाट दे डू इज़ दे ऑलवेज फोकस ऑन द एक्सपीरियंसेस. मैंने ये किया, इसके ये पर्टिकुलर एक्सपीरियंस करने के बाद आई हैव लर्न दिस, मैंने ये ट्राई किया, उसके बाद में आई हैव लर्न दिस, एंड स्टार्टअप्स आर गेटिंग फेल्ड इन सो मेनी ट्राइज. तो ये जो फेल्योर में से सीखने का एक जो तरीका है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट इज़ नॉट राइट, बट उससे पावरफुल एक और तरीका है, एंड दैट इज़ लर्निंग फ्रॉम अदर्स एक्सपीरियंस. And exactly that is what we are doing at Vyapaar Jagat, wherein we are bringing such speakers, such industry leaders, those who have experienced so many things in their lives. They have tried lot many things, and वो जो एक 20 साल 25 साल 40 साल का एक एक्सपीरियंस जो होता है, वो एक्सपीरियंस को 20 मिनट्स 30 मिनट्स में वो पूरा आपके सामने एक्सप्लेन करते हैं. And that is the great way of learning, and it is something wherein you can protect your business, you can prevent from failure. So this is the third day of the Vyapaar Jagat growth talk show, and today we are starting with one of the very powerful keynote session, and the title is Antar Prerana, 4 INDIC thoughts for a successful startup. And I'm very happy to announce the speaker, Sri Ramkumar Seshu. Sri Ramkumar Seshu is the creator of the Born to Win philosophy, which is based on Bhagavat Gita and Upanishads techniques. Over a million entrepreneurs and corporate executives have benefited through this program. He has been practicing the concept of I can, you can, and we can for 40 years, based on the idea of Aham Brahmasmi. Born to Win interventions are also available on a pro bono basis at a number of government schools and non-profit organizations. The Born to Win initiative is now producing long-term and measurable results in the manufacturing, large, medium, and small IT, ITES, Telecom, financial, and services sectors. Sri Ramkumar Seshu is now working to help empower and create 1 million enlightened entrepreneurs by aligning their Shakti, ICCHA, क्या बोलते हैं, ज्ञान, क्रिया, मानस, and his signature program is Enough Dimag की बत्ती जलाओ, take the charge of your life. So I am sure with this introduction we have understood that this particular session is going to be more interesting and very powerful. So let us welcome Sri Ramkumar Seshu. Sir, thank you so much for joining, and on behalf of the entire Vyapaar Jagat team and on behalf of the entire audience, we would love to welcome to the Vyapaar Jagat growth talk show. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, Praveen. Namaskar, everybody. Praveen, I am a great admirer of yours. You know that over the last 3-4 years that we've been working together, I've seen the phenomenal growth of Vyapaar Jagat as a very powerful voice for business, especially for startups. आप जो काम कर रहे हो प्रवीण, बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहे हो, और इसके लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई. और हमारी तो ये शुभकामनाएं आपके साथ सदा रहेगी कि आप ऐसे कीजिए, and I'm very, very happy that today you're expanding across Maharashtra, Bombay. अगर आपको बैंगलोर में कुछ चाहिए तो बताइए. We would definitely like to help you expand your footprint here too.
Sure, sir.
आज का जो विषय है बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट विषय है, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि स्टार्टअप डे आ रहा है जनवरी 16th. प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी बहुत एम्फेसिस दे रहे हैं कि this particular thought that we should have 1,000 unicorns in India, which will be $1 trillion, is a very, very interesting thought. अब आप एक चीज आपको I want to make you aware of.
Please, sir.
We have this familiar thought, which I completely disagree with, that 40 to 50% of the startups are bound to fail. Okay? तो हम लोग ये जो एक thought है, this particular thought that 40 to 50% of the startups are bound to fail, or even more, some people say even 60-70%, is a very wrong thought. इस thought को हम दिमाग से निकाल के फेंक देना चाहिए. We have to throw this thought out. You see, why should a startup fail? Why should you presume that a startup will fail? यानी before the batsman goes to score, before the batsman takes the crease, you have decided कि ये zero पे out होने वाला है. That is a wrong thinking. No? As business people, we should not start believing that, yeah, don't worry, a startup fail होगा तो. No, it is not a question of the startup is bound to fail. We have to question that. And we have to turn around and say, no, why should this happen? Why should a startup fail in the first place? Now, Western research that has been done, research across the world, shows us that there are so many reasons why a startup fails. And I saw in your brochure that you had a program, you had a session on this. Why should startups fail? And I'm sure you would have, done all the data analysis there. And if you see why should startups fail, you would have seen, lack of marketing, lack of markets, a mismatch between market needs and, what the entrepreneur wants, lack of a good team, lack of proper funding. Okay, all of these are possible causes amongst the very many, amongst the 10 or 12, why an entrepreneur fails, why a startup actually goes and fails. But let me give you a counter to this. We have been doing a lot of work, and Praveen, you're aware of the fact that my mission now is to create 1 million enlightened entrepreneurs. And we are doing at the grassroots. We are not doing this at a technology level, but we're actually going down to the grassroots and saying, how can we help create 1 million enlightened entrepreneurs at the grassroots levels in India? How can we create this at the village level? How can we create entrepreneurs at the taluka level? Because that is what we require at this point of time. We need entrepreneurship at that village level to answer village level economy needs. We need entrepreneurship at the taluka level, because that is what we want, because that is where Bharat actually is. See, today there are two different spheres, Praveen. One is Bharat, the other is India. The India of today is residing in possibly the 6 or 8 or 10 different, big, large metro cities and the 100 odd, non-metro cities, which are large cities. But yehi ek India nahi hai, isme ek bahut hi bada Bharat hai. There is another Bharat that we need to become aware of, which is at the village level, at the taluk level, at the gram level. Okay? And wahan pe hamare jo, youngsters hai, unko opportunities milni chahiye. So we need to create entrepreneurship opportunities at that level, because only then will we be able to help one of our biggest sectors, Praveen, which is agriculture. You see, we have to look at agriculture. We have to look at the entire agri-ecospace and try and see how can we do something about it. Whether we like it or not, whatever happens in Bharat today, we have to make sure that we get better efficiencies at that level. Okay? Because our cities are not in a position to take any more load in terms of population influx from the villages. So we need to create economic opportunities at the local level, at the village level, at the taluk level, at the town level, at the gram level. And that is what is something that I'm working on right now. And you'd be very happy to hear that on the 12th of this month, Prime Minister is in Hubli at the National Youth Day, which is Swami Vivekanandaji's birthday. And we are actually in the process, along with the government of Karnataka, of creating one of the largest mass entrepreneurship programs with proven business models and business ideas that can be set up at these levels, and we can actually start getting things moving there. So last Monday, for instance, I was talking to about 10,000 young people and getting them fired up about entrepreneurship and why they should take up entrepreneurship and do something. So there's a lot of very interesting work that is going on there.
Yeah, sir, before you start sharing and enter into the exact topic, I just want to share that we are also celebrating the National Startup Day, and on 16th of January itself we have kept one the large gathering of entrepreneurs, and I think very first time we are and I think in India it is happening, wherein MSME entrepreneurs and startup entrepreneurs both are coming together and celebrating the first birthday of National Startup Day. So that we have planned, and we are doing it at World Trade Center, Mumbai. So on 16th of January at World Trade Center, we are going to meet around 500 plus entrepreneurs there.
What a nice idea! What a nice idea! I wish I could have been there. Unfortunately, I'm not in the country at that point of time. But please send me a link if I can log in from whichever part of the world I am, and I can see the function. It'll be great. So to come back to this issue, if our whole definition of a startup has to change right now. There is this one startup which is getting funding and therefore becoming a unicorn. That's one kind of a startup that we're talking about. The other kind of a startup, these are all deep tech. These are all, these are very, very big players, and this have got promise of going global. That's one level, which is a very good level. There's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, we also have to look at the grassroots level startup and say, what is it that we can do at the grassroots to get a entrepreneurship culture going? Okay. Now, if you look at the word entrepreneurship, there is a very beautiful Indian word that is Antar Prerana. What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur like you or like me is fired with the zeal of doing something interesting and making a change to the world. And that is nothing but Antar Prerana. So देखिए ना कितना beautiful है ये entrepreneur, Antar Prerana. I mean, if you actually look at them, they're so similar sounding, Antar Prerana and the entrepreneur. So can we come up with our own thinking, our own thought process to help these entrepreneurs, to help these startups get into the right kind of thinking? So I personally believe that if you want a successful entrepreneurship, then you have to start with the thinking. When the thinking is right, then everything else is right. Then your marketing is right, then your market fit with the product is right, then your team is right, then your funding is right, then your investors are right. Everything that you require will become right, provided the thinking of the entrepreneur is correct. And this is my quest today, saying, my friends who are going to get into entrepreneurship, who are startups, who are already into startups, here is a beautiful 4-step way that I'd like to suggest to you. Please do this, and you will then get the kind of results that you really are looking for. So what are the kind of qualities that I'm talking about? And here I'd like to share my screen with your permission. Right. So what is the can you see my screen, Praveen? All right.
Yes.
So what is the Antar Prerana mindset that we require? And this is something that I have taken from the Bhagavat Gita. Praveen, I also speak regularly on the Bhagavat Gita, and my mission again there is to make sure that the learnings of the Bhagavat Gita, the Upanishads, are brought to an entrepreneur and from a practical, from today's perspective. So what are some of the things that we require to learn? In chapter 3, in verse 3, Sri Krishna tells, verse 35, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna a very interesting concept about Swadharma. That is, the shloka is a beautiful shloka. For paucity of time, I won't tell you the shloka. But the crux of the shloka is this. He says, you must be yourself. Do not be a pale imitation. So जब आप धंधा कर रहे हो, जब आप कुछ startup कर रहे हो, तो इसलिए मत करो क्योंकि 1000 और लोग कुछ किए हैं. Don't do that. You have to be yourself. You need to follow your Swadharma. And what is the definition of Swadharma, Praveen? It's a beautiful definition of Swadharma, according to me. Swadharma is to do something that makes you happy, makes your immediate world happy, and the larger world happy. So at the base of Swadharma is happiness. That is your happiness, your immediate world happiness, and the rest of the world happy. Look at what you are doing, Praveen. Look at what I am doing in Born to Win. Look at what Vyapaar Jagat is doing. We are practicing our Swadharma, which is, look, this is something that makes us very, very happy. Also, everybody who's associated with Vyapaar Jagat is very happy. And therefore, the entire ecosystem, whether it is the startup or the MSME that you're working with, is very happy. And if you recall very much, Praveen, 2 years ago when you and I had a conversation, I said, don't try and be something else. You be yourself. It will take time. 2 saal lagega, but you will be successful. And I'm so glad, you are a classic example of someone who has pursued that Swadharma. So to every startup, I have this simple message. Do not try and imitate somebody else. Because Krishna tells Arjuna that it is better to be a bad startup than to be an imitation of somebody else. It won't work. You be yourself and you will get all the strength that you need to do things on your own. So the first point, don't try and imitate anybody. So when you're building your team, when you're building your product, when you're building your service, you be true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself, you will anchor your product or service in happiness. Saying कि ये product से मुझे खुशी हो रही है, ये service से मुझे खुशी हो रही है, and this is why I will spread happiness through my product or service. A happy team, a happy customer is a sure shot recipe for 100% guaranteed success. Okay, number one. The second thing that you should practice is this, and this is another beautiful, set of passages from chapter 16, verse 1, 2, and 3. When he talks about what is known as the Daivik qualities of a person. Now, from a perspective of a startup, from a perspective of an entrepreneur, look at what he is telling us. 2 things. One, he starts with Abhayam. He says you must have fearlessness, not fearless. Fearlessness, Abhayam, यानी आप 100% गिरोगे मेरे दोस्त. एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का रास्ता आसान नहीं है, आप गिरोगे 100%, लेकिन आपको इतना अंदर की शक्ति होनी चाहिए, क्षमता होनी चाहिए that I will get up and walk again. I must have that confidence that yes, it is going to be difficult. There is no doubt about that, but I will get up and walk. Along with that, you must have na atimanita, which is humility. 2 beautiful qualities. You must have fearlessness, at the same time humility. Humility, why? Because you must learn from your experiences. Just because you've fallen and got up and walked again, you should not get egoistic, but you should be humble and say that, look, where do I need help? I should seek help. So you must be fearless in your thoughts and deeds. You must be humble in your deeds. And say that, look, let me practice humility. Why should you do this? Very simple, Praveen. Because the opportunity antenna that is there for your product or service is there. There are 1 million opportunities in the market for every product and service. And I am a standing example for this. We have mentored more than, I think, 25,000 entrepreneurs who are doing extremely well today. And the reason is this, that I tell them, boss, there is so much of opportunities out there, it is not funny. You must unlock that opportunity antenna. And to unlock that, you must have this seva-mindedness of humility and fearlessness. Both are extremely, extremely important. So this is the second important quality. Okay? So practice your Swadharma, pursue it, what makes you happy in the world happy, by being fearless, at the same time with a lot of humility. Why? Because you need to unlock that opportunity of antenna. You see, if you're humble, no, Praveen, what will happen is that people will come forward and say, Praveen, I want to help you. Agar aapka ego bahut bada hai, nobody will want to help you. Your investors will not want to help you. Your team will not want to help you. Your bankers will not want to help you. Why? Because ये बेवकूफ आदमी सुनता नहीं बात हमारी. Okay, so abhayam and humility. Then the third important thing, again, this is verse 62 and 63 in chapter 2. The problem is that we have all grown up with this amazing need for instant gratification. We want immediate result. हमको immediate, तुरंत कुछ ना कुछ चाहिए. Now look at this valuation game that we are getting into. Now this whole valuation game is a deadly game, if you ask me. Because we are only playing that game. We are forgetting that we are doing this product or this service because we want to give something back to society. So you need to overcome these three things along with the other three, which are the gateways of hell according to Krishna. You need to avoid kama, krodha, lobha. Kama is what? Unsatiated desire. If you have unsatiated desire, it gets into krodha, which is anger. And once you get into anger, it becomes lobha, which is greed. And that is when the enterprise, the startup, loses focus. You see, this is I'll tell you a great example of how I help people in this place. I tell them, you have started this business because of a particular reason. There will be a lot of people who will come and tell you, aap ye bhi karo, aap wo bhi karo, aap ye bhi karo, aap wo bhi karo. ये करने से आपको immediate result मिलेगा, ये करने से आपको 2 crore valuation मिलेगा. Don't do that. Please don't fall into that trap. Please don't fall into the valuation game trap. Valuation मिलेगा आपको पक्का, 100% आपको valuation मिलेगा. But don't play the game for the valuation purpose. Play the game because you have something by which you are going to spread happiness across the world. Look at what has happened to some of the wanted startups today. All of them, after they've gone public, look at the way their public issue have crashed. Look at the amount of wealth that has been wiped out, not just in India, but across the world. Why? Because people wanted to play this particular game. This is not the game that people need to play. It will happen when it happens. Don't worry about it. Any business has to be sustainable and scalable. But when you do kama, krodha, lobha, when you get into this trap of instant gratification in terms of valuation, your entire business model will get destroyed. Keep this in mind, okay? And I keep telling so many entrepreneurs who come to me, I said, look, you don't worry about the market, you don't worry about the IPO, you don't worry about the stock market, you don't worry about the valuation. When that happens, it will happen. Your job right now is to make sure that your product, your service is going to be extremely successful. Once that happens, the rest of it will fall into place. Valuation will happen. The fourth thing that we need to keep in mind, okay, is we need to become a sthita prajna. This is in chapter 2 of the Bhagavat Gita, verse 56 and 57. What does it mean? We must have the equanimity to handle opposites. You see, when you are in a startup, believe me, I have one startup that I've recently started. Not every day is a great day. You must have the equanimity, you must have वो क्षमता अपनी में होनी चाहिए कि कभी-कभी ठीक रहेगा, कभी ठीक नहीं रहेगा. We must handle those opposites. Not every day will we get a favorable response from the market. But we must have that equanimity to handle those opposites. So business is a long-term game. And when you have this long-term game, you must handle this long-term game in that particular manner. So 4 interesting mindset issues that have been with us for the last 5,000-6,000 years. Number 1, practice your swadharma. Be yourself. Do things that are going to make you happy, will make your customers happy, your suppliers happy, your vendors happy, your bankers happy, your investors happy, everybody, your team happy. Do this with a fearlessness, with some humility, abhayam and natimanita. And very important, don't get into this instant gratification कि मेरे को कल ही सब कुछ चाहिए. नहीं होने वाला है. Don't fall into the kama, krodha, lobha trap. Don't get into that at all. And finally, develop the equanimity to handle opposites. So how do you develop the equanimity? Go for a coach. Get a mentor. You know who's a great mentor? It could be your father, it could be your mother, it could be your brother, all right? It could be your teacher. but go for equanimity. Go and get someone who will help you handle these opposites in life. If you were to practice these four, believe me, there is no reason for your startup to fail. My friends, मैं ये दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं, I will give you a guarantee that you practice these four things, your startup will not fail, 100%. All the other issues will fall into place. Your markets, your marketing, your market linkages, your funding, everything will fall into place if you were to practice this particular mindset. Praveen, this has been my mission in life, and this is what I'm so grateful to you for giving us an opportunity to to share this thought with your audience. With that, I will stop the share. Yes, I've stopped the share screen. I think right now. Yes, Praveen.
All right, thank you so much, sir. I think very powerful these four words which you have taken from the Bhagavat Gita. Swadharma, that means be yourself. Abhyam, be fearless. Overcome from kama, krodha, and lobha. And I think the one word which is I think the center of the entire Bhagavad Gita, and that is be sthiti pragya. And you have rightly mentioned, sir, that for a startup it is very powerful to have a guru, it is very powerful to have a mentor, a right advisor. So I think it's a great start of the day, and I am sure those who are watching this particular video, as well as in future also people are going to visit Vyapaar Jagat TV and they are going to attend this particular session. So they will definitely learn lot many things, because I am a strongly believer of Antar Prerana, because that is very powerful. And when I think most of the startups or the most of the people, what they make mistake is, like we start assuming results before we do it, right? And that is in the, as far as this kind of spiritual concepts are concerned, it is not true, because unless and until you practice, you cannot assume the results or the benefits you are going to get out of it. So indeed it is a great session, and sir, thank you so much for joining and educating all of us about the Bhagavad Gita and these four great lessons.